So he's leading this rocket center, and he has to make a choice now where he's starting to become more popular within the government, and he's asked to join the Nazi Party, which he does. And kind of the way historians look at it is they say, like, well, of course he did, right? It's little commitment to him. Even if he doesn't believe in everything the Nazi Party is doing, this is going to get him the resources that he needs, and it's kind of like the cool thing to do, or like what you did at the time. So this is where I think a good question comes up is people say, oh, he was a Nazi. And I think so. If you're a card carrying Nazi, he has like a driver's license to say like Nazi, and then there's his name, right? But I think there's a differentiation you need to make here of, are you a card carrying Nazi versus a believer of the Nazi ideology and the doctrine, right? Like, is he committed to the destruction of the Jewish race? Is he trying to push Aryan kind of dominance throughout Germany? Or is he just kind of like, this is just kind of what you have to do, and hey, I'm getting things I need from the Nazi Party, so I'll join up, say what I need to say, but go back to building my rockets. And that's kind of where a lot of people that look at von Braun's upbringing is kind of where they see him, that he was just kind of disinterested in everything that the Nazi Party had to do with terms of like ideology and that kind of stuff. But I was kind of doing a little bit of research and like, how does one even get into the Nazi Party? How many people were there? So there was about 8 to 10 million members, I believe, around like from about 60 million in Germany. 2 million of them were women, which I found was interesting.
Wow.
But they were very, very particular.
High.
Yeah, I was shocked by that. I thought,
very
like,
high. Wow.
You think a very hard right fascist regime, right? It's men of certain age, of certain ethnicity, and that's it. But apparently there's a lot of women involved. But they did very meticulous background research. Like, I think they would go back to your great grandparents to make sure that you were like full-blooded German. And so, any Jewish last name or anything like that, even if it was like your great great grandparent, you're definitely not joining the Nazi Party, and there might even be larger implications for you as well. And if you immigrated, your grandparents came from another country, your great grandparents came from Italy, France, Russia, too bad you're not a true Aryan, you're not going to join the party. So it really shows you how deep this ethnic kind of dominance and just supremacy just took over everything that this party did, which I don't think is very surprising. But I think as you dig more into what the Nazis really believed in, you can see that that's where everything was built off of. So that's kind of where
interesting point there, right? Paul. Yeah, I think just on that point of, was he a card-carrying Nazi? I think this is one of those tough, very uncomfortable historical discussions. When you look at someone like Wernher von Braun and, other examples, whether they're academics, philosophers, who, people of industry who could be, card-carrying Nazis. Does that mean we discount the other things that they did that were net positive over their lifetimes? I'm not saying one way or the other. You know what I mean? I think this is why this particular topic is so interesting.
Yeah.
Is because it really gets to the heart of that, that kind of idea is, just because we know someone was associated with something as horrible as the Nazi Party, can we completely and totally disregard any other, output or what's the word? I guess contribution that they've made that has actually furthered society. And with Wernher von Braun, obviously, we know the things that he would do with rockets, which would change, the world completely. So, again, not saying one way or the other, but I think, again, that is kind of the crux of what we are ultimately trying to get at.
For sure. It's like the classic, like, let's look at the individual and see what they did, because there's a heck of a lot of people in this party where you read 5 seconds into their bio and you're like, oh, they were hung at Nuremberg. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And like, glad to see that kind of happened. But yeah, you don't know for sure. And I think you look at anybody in society, right? Like, oh, they may be a member of some really ethical charity or something, but have done some really terrible things. It's like, it goes both ways, right? And I don't know if you can, how can you do it? But the thing with the Nazi Party is what they stand for, what they did, and it's all deplorable.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you remember